I'm so happy to be here today, and I want to welcome everyone to this presentation on building brain healthy habits. My name is Aileen Zai, and I am the program manager for the Alzheimer's Association. And my role is really to help raise awareness about Alzheimer's and other dementias, but also, just be out in the community and sharing information like we're doing today is one of our top priorities. So again, thank you for joining us today. And we're going to start out by saying really that the brain needs to be taken care of just like the rest of our body. And taking care of our brain health at all ages helps us to live well and benefits our brains as we get older. So this program will share some science-based habits that can help keep our brains healthy and provide guidance on how to build and maintain these brain healthy habits. So we encourage you to talk with your healthcare professional about your brain health and any habits that you intend to change. What we're going to do today is sort of let you kind of absorb the information, and then we'll talk about an action plan that we can put together to help us incorporate some good brain healthy habits. So let's see here. So by the end of this program, we will be able to explain how brain health is important now and throughout our life, and recognize the actions and habits that can help protect and improve our brain health, and make a plan to successfully use the tips that we'll talk about in order to build more brain healthy habits. So to help make that plan, we're going to walk through an action plan tool later in the program. And then, as Jessica mentioned, this action plan will be emailed to you also so that you can put together your own action plan. But we want to make sure that we're taking a step towards holding ourselves accountable for changes that we want to make. And by doing this through the action plan, it will hopefully lead you to success. So the term brain health is very popular right now. So our conversation today will be centered around the Alzheimer's Association's 10 healthy habits for our brain. So some of these already may be part of your daily life, and others, like maintaining certain health conditions, are influenced by those habits. So many of these brain healthy habits are connected. Improving one area can have a positive ripple effect on other areas. For example, we know that healthy eating can also help control our blood pressure and help us from either developing diabetes or help to maintain our diabetes diagnosis. So take a moment here to recognize which of these brain healthy habits are already a part of your daily life and where there might be some room for improvement. So we know that these habits and health conditions affect the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. And now that we have evidence that doing something about them can have a positive impact on our brain health, we can make some possible lifestyle changes that can be helpful. The U.S. Pointer study, which was led by the Alzheimer's Association, it had top-line results released in the summer of 2025, so we're about a year out from that. And this showed that a structured, healthy lifestyle program combining exercise, nutrition, cognitive engagement, and health monitoring can meaningfully protect our brain health. So this was a 2-year randomized control clinical trial that tested 2 lifestyle interventions: in a large, diverse population of older adults at risk for cognitive decline and dementia. So participants were in either a self-guided or a structured lifestyle group, and cognitive function improved for both groups. But the structured intervention group showed the greatest benefit, and that was performing at cognitive levels comparable to adults nearly 2 years younger. So this is a very important study that underscores the message that healthy behaviors have a powerful impact on our brain health. So we're going to talk more about what we learned from the U.S. Pointer Study program and elements of that structured healthy lifestyle program as we dive into these habits. So before we talk about how to help protect our brain health, let's learn a little bit about how the brain works and why taking care of our brain matters. So the term brain health can refer to a wide range of functions, including memory, thinking, emotional well-being, and even sensory and motor function. So while these areas are all important and closely connected, in this program, we're going to focus specifically on ways to help protect how well we think, we learn, and we remember. So the brain is the control center of the entire body. So the brain's neurons, also known as nerve cells, are essential to all human activity, including thinking, talking, and walking. There are approximately 100 billion neurons in the brain, and branches connect the nerve cells at more than 100 trillion points. So this dense branching network is called the neuron forest. The neuron forest is so dense that if it was laid out end to end, it would be longer than the distance from the Earth to the moon. So signals are traveling through the neuron forest from the basis of our memories, thoughts, and our feelings. Some diseases, like Alzheimer's, affects the brain and destroys these nerve cells. The brain shrinks over time, affecting most of its functions as the disease worsens. Most individuals living with dementia are 65 years and older, but brain changes can start 20 years or more before symptoms of dementia are experienced. Risks to brain health start much younger than 65. So this is why it's important that we're talking about these things today. Our focus today is on brain health, but I want to give you some real brief background information on dementia so that we're all on the same page. It's important to recognize that dementia is not a normal part of aging. And so we're going to look at the different terms. The first one being cognitive decline, which refers to changes in memory, thinking, and/or reasoning that worsen over time. Just as with our physical abilities, some cognitive decline also comes with aging. MCI, or mild cognitive impairment, is an early stage of memory loss. And dementia is a general term used to describe problems with thinking and memory that are severe enough to interfere with the daily tasks of a person's life. So again, dementia is not a normal part of aging. Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia. So when we look at the differences between dementia and Alzheimer's, we always try to use the sort of description of dementia being the overall umbrella term for changes in memory, thinking, or behavior. Alzheimer's is one type of dementia. So it's caused by damage to the nerve cells in the brain, and Alzheimer's is a progressive and fatal brain disease. There are several other diseases that can cause changes in the brain leading to dementia, and those are available on our website if you'd like to take a little more tour of that website at alz.org. So it's important that we note that our hearts and our brains are closely connected. So much of this connection is because each time our heart beats, 20 to 25% of the blood goes to the brain. So the oxygen and other elements delivered to the brain through the bloodstream keep the brain nourished. Because of this connection, actions that we take to keep our hearts healthy also will keep our brain healthy. So what we say is what's good for the heart is also good for the brain. So let's shift back to talking about brain health, and we're going to hear from a few people on why they started caring about their brain health.
I first started to care about brain health as I watched my mom battling Alzheimer's and watched her decline. It became very important for me to make sure that as I age, I'm more aware of how to keep myself healthy, especially being predisposed to the disease that runs in my family.
I used to think that I had a target on my back. Both of my parents died of dementia. It's just a question of time. When is it going to hit me? I don't believe that at all anymore. At all. I think that with lifestyle interventions, I can have a different outcome than my parents.
So brain health is important to me because I know that I have some of the same risk factors as my family members have for Alzheimer's disease and dementia. But I think that it's something that we all need to be cognizant of and to work towards in terms of general health.
Things that happen as you age, you go through a lot of changes in your body, and certainly your brain does too. And what can I do about that now? And it turns out there are things you can continually do.
I want to live a long, healthy life. I want to enjoy life as long as possible. I want my older years to be filled with traveling and learning. So to do that, to think about the future, I want to do whatever I can now to reduce my risk.
So that's a great way of looking at it is, reducing our risk now earlier on is a great way to set yourself up for a healthy life as you age. So based on what we've heard so far, the big question is, when is the best time to start thinking about brain health? So while the greatest known risk for Alzheimer's and other dementia is age, we should not delay taking care of our own brain health until we get older. We need to take care of our brains at all ages. So it's never too early or too late to take care of our brain. So even though having a family history of dementia puts people at a higher risk, research does show that brain healthy habits lower our risk and can protect us from cognitive decline. So healthier living has a positive effect on brain health for everyone. So let's talk a little bit more about actions that we can take. We will first talk about health conditions that are connected to brain health. Smoking is included because it does have effects on the brain. So first of all, let's look at the 4 things that can be risks to brain health. The first one being blood pressure. Over time, high blood pressure damages blood vessels, which can affect blood flow to the brain. Having a healthy blood pressure level is one of the most important things that we can do for our brain health. High blood pressure is a common condition, and there may be no symptoms. So it's important that you get checked out by your healthcare professional. The US guideline for blood pressure is less than 130/80. For extra information, that, systolic blood pressure, which is the top number, being less than 130, and the diastolic blood pressure, the bottom number, should be less than 80. So changes to physical activity, healthy eating, and sleep can also improve our blood pressure, and medications, if necessary, can be very effective at controlling it. The next one being blood sugar and managing diabetes. So high blood sugar or insulin can harm the brain. Diabetes raises the risk of heart disease and stroke, which hurts the heart and the blood vessels. So high blood sugar causes inflammation, which may damage brain cells also. So talk with your healthcare professional and get screened. Healthcare providers can identify prediabetes and diabetes by looking at blood work. So for both preventing and controlling diabetes, medications and increasing healthy eating and exercise can be effective. And these are the same things that are also good for our blood pressure too. The next thing that we'd like to talk about is weight. Midlife obesity increases risk for cognitive decline and possibly dementia. So maintaining a healthy weight earlier in life and throughout adulthood is important. Weight is complex and can be associated with some factors outside of a person's control. So talking with your healthcare provider about what is right for you is important. In addition to making healthy changes, there may be medications that may be appropriate for some individuals. And the last one being smoking. Cigarette smoking can shrink the part of the brain that deals with memory and thinking. It can also contribute to high blood pressure and diabetes. The good news is that from people who quit smoking, the risk for cognitive decline drops over time back to levels similar to those non-smokers. So quitting, we know, can be hard. There are lots of resources to support people who are trying to quit smoking. There is a national hotline at 1-800-QUIT-NOW. You can find resources also to support quitting efforts for online, and speak with your healthcare professional. So many people wonder about e-cigarettes and vaping. Most of science right now is on cigarette smoking, but the effects of e-cigarettes and vaping on the brain are not yet known. But we do know that they do there are risks to heart health when it comes to that. So what actions can we take now? Getting regular blood pressure and diabetes screenings, and finding out what weight is healthy for us. If your numbers are high, work with your healthcare professional on making some changes to plan to manage those numbers. Maintaining healthy blood pressure, blood sugar levels, and weight are important goals for our hearts and our brains. Participants in that U.S. Pointer study that I mentioned earlier had structured intervention groups, which saw the greater benefit on cognition and that health monitoring, knowing their numbers and taking action as part of their healthy lifestyle program, along with exercise, healthy diet, and cognitive engagement. So let's talk more now about the 3 healthy habits that can benefit these conditions, our brain health and our overall health. So the first one being physically active. Movement can really get that heart pumping. So anything that's aerobic or cardio exercise, that does improve brain function by increasing the blood and oxygen flow to the brain. Physical activity can also improve connections among the brain cells, and it helps preserve our thinking abilities. The next one being eating healthy. Balanced nutrition, or getting a variety of the nutrients that we need across the food groups, is important for cognitive function. Certain diets, such as the MIND diet, provide optimal health and nutrition for our brain. And we'll talk more about the MIND diet and healthy eating themes in a bit. Then also sleeping well. We all know that that can be a challenge. So good quality sleep includes periods of deep sleep. And experts think that this allows for the process of washing away a buildup of proteins in the brain that are a risk to our brain health. Not getting enough quality sleep does leave our brains feeling tired and not working as well. It can make our bodies feel tired, and that can make it harder to make healthy choices. So conditions such as insomnia or sleep apnea may be connected with memory and thinking problems. So it's important to talk with our healthcare professional if we have a hard time sleeping. So before we take a closer look at some tips that can help build these 3 habits, let's learn from each other. And really try to think about different ways that we can challenge ourselves. Many of us want to live a healthier lifestyle, but feel maybe too busy. Maybe we're just lacking energy, money, time. But we might face various obstacles that can hold us back from making positive changes. So try to think to yourself about what challenges you or people that you know are dealing with, and what strategies can we work through to try to overcome these obstacles. Start trying to think of, is it time that you're having a challenge with? Is there maybe, an option of getting up earlier in the morning, things like that. Sometimes the weather prevents us from getting outside to walk, but is there some place that you can walk indoors that could be helpful? So we'll kind of think about that as we move along. As we talked about, exercise has many benefits for the brain. So what kinds of exercise should be included in our goal. Overall, a well-rounded exercise routine is what we should aim for. So remember that the U.S. Pointer Study structured healthy lifestyle program that saw greater benefit on cognition when we combined the 4 elements of exercise, healthy diet, cognitive engagement, and health monitoring. So there are exercise goals that we can put together that are part of this structured intervention. So we suggest 30 to 35 minutes of aerobic activity 4 times a week. And these are activities that really get the heart and breathing rate up, like jogging, biking, cardio classes at the gym, for example. Also, 15 to 20 minutes of strength training twice a week. And this would include lifting weights of resistance or resistance training with bands. And you can work with a trainer on getting the best plan in place for that. Then also 10 to 15 minutes of stretching and balance exercises twice a week is also suggested. So exercise is one of the best things that we can do for our brains. It can also feel hard or overwhelming to think about adding more movement into an already full day. So what can we do? Maybe first focus on getting your body moving. Exercise does not have to mean going to the gym. Maybe just add more movement into things that you already do. This is called functional exercise. And it includes things like chores around the house, housework, parts of your job that keep you moving, and getting your heart rate up. So even walking to the train instead of driving, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, sweeping. Consider physical work done around just your everyday activities and find ways to step it up. So maybe some more ideas on how to build more physical activity into your regular routine. You might think about something you want to try. Do you want to learn a new dance? Try out pickleball. Start gardening again. The key is finding what is a fit for you and is fun so that you'll actually stick with it. Ask friends to join you. That's a really great way. It's always more fun to take a walk with a friend. Think about, the fact that you're also kind of combining 2 things, the physical exercise and the social engagement. So if you don't like exercise at all, try to make it better for yourself. Save, your favorite show to watch only while you're on a treadmill, or only listen to your audiobook while you're out walking. Finally, track your progress. You can use an app, a calendar, or just a regular old piece of paper to keep track of your increased exercise. Tracking these exercise minutes helps you see your progress. And some weeks you might be, a little bit less than others, but that's okay. You can always pick it up the next week. And as an example of an exercise tracker can be found on different websites online. So some activities may not be an option for everyone because of physical limitations, but there are lots of opportunities to move our bodies in ways that work for us. There's chair yoga, there's all different types of things that we can do. So check with your healthcare professional, of course, before you start any new activity to make sure that that's recommended. Okay, so now we're going to talk about healthy eating. As I mentioned, that U.S. Pointer Study included a combination of the 4 different elements, including healthy eating, such as the MIND diet. So the MIND diet is a brain healthy diet. And we can see by the specific recommendations here listed on the slide that there are some things that we can incorporate. In general, a heart healthy diet is also a brain healthy diet. So overall, healthy eating should include the following key themes. And these themes are listed on the screen, including fruits and vegetables. Certain fruits, such as berries and green leafy vegetables, have been found to have excellent brain health benefits. Foods containing healthy fats, such as those found in olive oil, avocado oil, and fish are healthy options in contrast to the polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats. these are types of things that we can kind of look at as different ways of incorporating these healthy habits. Nuts, beans, and whole grains. These can be rich in fiber, protein, and nutrients, and are linked to lower rates of chronic disease like diabetes. And lean proteins, fish, chicken, and turkey, tofu, low-fat Greek yogurt, and cottage cheese. Lean beef and pork are all those that are recommended. So limit your intake of saturated fats. These are the ones that are found in butter, palm, and coconut oils, and foods cooked with or baked with them. So that's why I mentioned the olive oils and avocado oils previously. Saturated fats can raise our bad cholesterol and affect our blood flow to the heart and the brain. Highly processed foods should also be limited. These kinds of foods have added sugars, salt, fat, and or artificial preservatives. And these includes lunch meats, sausages, packaged cookies and snacks, instant noodles, and many others. Many studies show that highly processed foods are risks to brain health. So aim for less processed or fresh foods when possible. Finally, similar to tracking your exercise, it can be very helpful to also track your food intake. And this can help you identify your eating patterns and what foods you might want to start including more or less of. There is a Mind Diet food log on our website at alz.org, and that can be a super helpful tool. There are lots of different online options also that you can search. So tips to eating right. So a brain healthy diet can be applied across different styles of eating habits, including eating on the go or while traveling, and foods that are important to your culture and your family. So take a moment to start thinking about how the meals or foods that you eat regularly fit into these themes. There are so many tips and tricks out there for healthy eating. So find what works for you. Start small is a great way to sort of start making some changes. And maybe focus on the things that you're adding, not losing or taking away. None of us want to be told that we have to take things away. So let's try starting with things that we can add. So adding nuts as a snack in the afternoon. Maybe when you're making pasta, if you could add some vegetables to it. Have fruits and vegetables available as an appetizer to snack on while you're preparing foods. And include fruit alongside with your dessert. So think about how to make the meals that you currently eat healthier. What healthy foods could you swap in? What new foods would you like to try? Have you ever tried something new that you were like, oh, I wish that I would have started eating this earlier. It's really good. So another thing is to try olive oil or another healthy oil instead of butter for cooking, using salt-free spices and herbs instead of using salt solely. Switch out ground beef for maybe a leaner ground turkey, and swap out white rice for a whole grain rice or brown rice. So start really kind of thinking about what healthy foods that you can add or swap in, what new foods that you might want to try, and maybe try to share that with other people and see what they've incorporated into their healthy eating routine. So we always like to talk about quickly, just a note about vitamins and supplements. We get asked about it frequently. Many vitamins and supplements claim to improve thinking and memory. So we just urge people to be cautious, as many of these products have been developed with limited or no regulation through the FDA or any rigorous studies. So they may also be dangerous when interacting with other medications. So it's important that you talk to your healthcare professional about that. A couple of vigorous studies have shown that multivitamins might benefit brain health, but overall evidence does not show that vitamins or supplements reduce dementia risk. So a healthy diet remains the best way to promote body and brain health. And so again, if you'd like to consult your healthcare provider about what you're taking or what you're interested in taking, and they can give you their opinion. So now we're going to talk about sleep. To protect brain health, we need to get good quality sleep regularly. So in general, adults should aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. So quality sleep allows you to go through the sleep cycle, including a deep sleep, and that is valuable for brain health. So of course, sometimes there may be noise, interruptions, or other factors that can make this difficult. So while we might not be able to control everything, there are some things that we can control to practice good sleep hygiene. And these are changes that we can make to our daily routines, and also things that we can do to create the best possible sleep that we can get. So here are some tips for promoting better sleep. Avoid caffeine later in the day. Some people say that they don't drink, any caffeine after 3 o'clock. You kind of judge for yourself what works best for you. Being physically active during the day does help promote sleep, and minimize naps. If you must nap, try to limit it to 30 minutes at the most in the early afternoon. Keeping a regular sleep schedule, going to bed at the same time, even on weekends, does help you regulate your sleep better. And in general, cooler temperatures promote sleep. So adjust your surroundings to the temperature that helps you sleep best. Minimize noise or achieve the level of noise that you prefer. It might be helpful to wear headphones or earbuds if you need to. Using a white noise machine is helpful for some people to kind of muffle out noises or provide a background sound. Limiting light by using blackout curtains or shades, or a sleep mask to cover your eyes. This may be especially helpful for people who sleep during the daylight hours, people who work different shifts. And also remember that blue light that comes from our phone, computer, or the TV can actually decrease our sleep quality. So finally, protecting your sleep from disruptions. There are many things that disrupt our sleep during the night. Again, mentioning the screens, put your phone out of reach so that you aren't tempted to look at it in the middle of the night. People and our pets. So when possible, having our pets sleep in their own spaces in a different room can be very helpful. I know that is in my home. So the bathroom, if you're waking up to use the bathroom often, explore options with your healthcare provider, maybe limiting your liquid intake later in the day. So kind of think about tonight when you go to bed, when you're lying there, identify all the sort of distractions or lights or different things like that that you're experiencing in your sleep space. And what changes you might be able to make to promote better sleep for yourself. So in addition to a healthy heart and brain habits, there are 3 more healthy habits specific to brain health. So first, our brains benefit from being active and staying challenged. So going to school is a protective factor for brain health. Researchers believe that it builds up a cognitive reserve or a sort of bank that people can carry with them into later life. So more years of formal education can have a positive effect on our brains, strengthening that cognitive reserve that can benefit us when we are older. So try to take a look at, see if there's any classes at the community college that you can kind of take into, or different locations that are offering different types of education. We constantly learn new things as children, and the need to keep our brains active and challenged continues as we grow into adulthood and beyond. So cognitive engagement encourages blood flow to the brain, and mentally stimulating activities may possibly maintain or even improve our abilities to think and to remember. So I'm going to watch a quick video here.
What is cognitive engagement? Cognitive engagement is all about regularly making your brain work hard. There are lots of different activities that are good for keeping our brains active. This can be different for everyone. The key is that the activity needs to make you concentrate and solve problems. Hard is good. What is cognitive engagement?
So the goal is to find activities that actually challenge our minds. So try to think about something that you've always wanted to try, maybe a new project or a hobby that you've never done before. So those are those types of things that use different parts of your brain that you don't normally use on a daily basis. Maybe try a strategy game. Complex games can really make us remember the rules, keep track of different moves or cards that have been played, and try to predict what our opponents are going to do next. Puzzles can also be a great way to challenge your mind, especially if it's a puzzle you haven't done before. Puzzles can help with problem solving and pattern recognition. Word, number, or other types of puzzles make you use multiple regions of your brain. And once you've gotten the hang of it, try a different puzzle or a harder one that makes your brain work harder to solve it. Learning a new language, that can really make us use our brain in many complex ways. Exploring a new hobby. If you are curious about what makes your brain work in different ways, this is a great way to figure out how learning a new hobby can really stretch your brain. That would include playing an instrument, any type of music, anything like that. Doing a different art form like painting or making things like pottery and things like that. Those use different parts of your brain. So taking a class, joining a class on, dance or history or whatever interests you is really a great way to challenge your brain. And there's lots of good options at libraries and senior centers and community areas. So check out what's in your area and try to find something that's of interest to you. So once an activity has become easy and you've mastered it, that's when you try to find a new challenging activity that's going to make your brain work even harder. So now we're going to go on to the final habit that we'll talk about. As you might expect, our brains benefit from being protected from injury. And so head injuries, including concussions, can affect many parts of the brain, including how we think and how we move and our emotions. So they can also affect our future thinking and our cognition. So while accidents may happen, we can take action to protect our heads. So here are some very everyday examples. Make sure that everyone in the vehicle is wearing a seatbelt. Children are in appropriate car seats and booster seats. Wearing a helmet during activities that might pose a risk to your head. This could include bike riding, skating, skiing, other similar sports activities, and making sure that the helmets meet the appropriate safety standards and fit correctly. Organizing your living and workspaces to minimize the risk of falling, such as removing tripping hazards. This is especially important for our older adults and those who may be less stable on their feet. Keep safety in mind when doing house projects also. Using ladders correctly and maybe asking someone who's more steady on their feet to climb the ladder instead of yourself if that's appropriate. Things like window washing and gutter cleaning, might be left to someone else if the ladder isn't a good idea. If you do injure your head, don't ignore it. Make sure that you get seen and taken care of by a healthcare professional. You might have heard of other risk factors that may be connected to brain health. The topics covered in this program have the strongest evidence to date for protecting our brain health. But there are a lot of different research projects going on helping us to learn more about what affects the health of our brains. So some other areas of research right now that we're looking at are hearing and vision loss. There's a newer area of research on this topic. More studies are needed, but to date, some of the studies suggest that hearing and or vision loss may be associated with higher risk of dementia. So treating our hearing and or vision loss does benefit our overall health, and the effect on our brain health is being studied, as I mentioned. Air pollution is another thing that's being studied right now. Some studies show a link between particulate matter, or very small particles, in the air and possible increased risk of cognitive decline. So more research is needed to identify the level and the age of exposure that might cause the greatest risk. and some people may be more at risk based on where they live or where they work. Alcohol abuse. Excessive use of alcohol over time can lead to memory issues and possibly even different types of syndromes that can cause memory disorders. The link to increased risk of cognitive decline and other forms of dementia is unclear at this time, but again, it's still being studied. Stress. To date, there has not been consistent evidence linking situational or occasional life stress to cognitive decline or dementia. However, short-term stress may affect our daily routines and our brain healthy habits. So managing stress could be important also for brain health. So before we move into our last section on building an action plan, here's some takeaways from what we just discussed. So brain healthy habits are for everyone. So remember, it's never too early or too late to establish healthier habits. Nurture the healthy habits that you have already and start some new ones at any stage of your life. So maintaining these healthy habits into older age does play a big role in protecting our brain health. Number two, the more healthy habits, the better. So the more healthy habits we have, the more benefits for our brain health. So include a variety of healthy habits. For example, if we already get physical activity into our day, try focusing on getting maybe some more sleep. Maybe healthier eating in regards to snacking and things like that. So try to figure out which are the areas that you might need some improvement in. And just remember that consistency is key. So for these habits to make a difference in our brain health, they need to be done on a regular basis. So it may take a while, but consistency is the goal. So before we jump into action planning, let's consider some keys to success that can help us out. So goals can be specific or flexible. Set the type of goal that will work best for you. Just know that, sometimes being less specific in our goals can also be valuable. Studies have found that if our goals are too specific, we can get discouraged if we're not meeting them. So a flexible goal might be, I'll exercise at least 2 times this week, whereas a specific goal would be, I will jog 3 days and lift weights 2 days. So if we kind of leave it more open, that might be better for you. Including other people. Tell others about your goals for building healthy habits, and support from others, can really encourage our success. And knowing that someone else will be checking in on us keeps us accountable sometimes. And really, those workout buddies or just someone to go and take a walk with that might share, interests with you, that may lead to other activities that you might want to do together, like, starting a hobby and things like that. So finding routines and rewards that work. Sometimes rewards are a really important part of building a new habit. So several studies have found that rewards do help promote healthy behaviors. Think about what rewards would motivate you. An example might be, something that, if you go on so many walks this week, you treat yourself to a movie or something like that. So, try to think of different things that you could use to motivate yourself. Speak positively. How would you talk about your habits that you're building to really keep it positive? So sometimes we're more successful when we choose positive words. Try using I don't, which can imply a choice instead of I can't, which feels like you aren't allowed to do something. For example, I don't eat a lot of sugar instead of saying I can't have a lot of sugar. So it's more that you're making that choice. And the last would be habit tracking. So a helpful way to know if you're meeting your goals is to track those activities. And we talked about this a bit already, but whichever type of tracking works for you, it can be helpful to see how you're doing, how you're progressing along the way. So another strategy for success is to use an action plan to build new habits. And we're going to talk a little bit about that now. So really trying to kind of pick your goal. So the goal is to change something, a goal that you want to make that's going to incorporate these healthy habits. So what goal do you have to build that healthy habit? So looking at our action plan that you'll receive later on, we can kind of help choose that healthy habit and write it into the plan. There's going to be space on your sheet to write in your action plan of what you'd like to incorporate. And then, so in the first box, you choose the habit. And then in the second box, you're going to talk about how you're going to make that healthy habit work for you. And then the third box on the sheet is going to help you decide on the action that you'll take to achieve that goal. So we'll go a little bit more into that. And how you will reward yourself and all of that type of thing.
Creating new habits can feel hard, but our brains are actually good at building routines. Using a habit loop, the process our brains use to build habits, can help make new habits stick. Here's how a habit loop works. There are 3 parts of a habit loop: the cue, the action, and the reward. First, identify a healthy habit you want to build. Now, identify something you already do regularly that can cue or nudge you to do the new action. We already use cues in our lives, but we might not be aware of it. People may plug their phone into a charger as soon as they get into their car, or take their shoes off after they walk into the house. One action triggers another. These cues naturally trigger the next action we want to remember, and it becomes automatic over time, so we don't even think about it. The second part is the action. Recognize the cue and attach the new action like we just talked about. The final part in the habit loop is the reward. You did it. Feeling good about the change you made and its benefits may be reward enough for you, or maybe you need a celebration. Habit loops can be used to help build lots of healthy habits. Attaching a new action to one you already do and then feeling rewarded is what the habit loop is all about.
So I think it's really important that we try to, think about that whole habit loop. Because if we miss that reward at the end, we're not going to feel as successful. So really, congratulating yourself and rewarding yourself is important. So when we continue looking at that action plan, obstacles can be part of the process. So we have to kind of realize that may be a situation that happens. There may be, as it mentioned here, speed bumps that we might encounter along the way. But how can we avoid or overcome these obstacles? So think about what might keep you from meeting your goal and what might be a solution ahead of time. So think about some of the tips we talked about earlier, such as weather. One obstacle might be that the weather might not be good for going outside and taking our walk. One solution is that we can, reschedule it or find a place to walk indoors. And then finally setting a timeline. First, when are you going to start? You might even be able to start today, but start as soon as possible so that you don't lose your energy and momentum after attending this session today. So think about how often you'll want to do this. Think back to your goal. Is your goal something where you want to do a new action a few times a week, every day? How often are you going to want to do it? And then think about how you'll hold yourself accountable. Remember that tracking your actions can be very helpful. So here's an example. Just starting next week, you're going to pick 2 regular meetup days to walk after work or after another activity. And then you'll keep track of these days in your log. And that's it. So after you receive the email with this action plan, you'll be able to kind of set up your own plan and, make any adjustments that you need to do along the way. Obviously, this is not something set in concrete. Science does show us that setting our goals helps us stick to them. So keeping your action plan in place, maybe posting it on your refrigerator or something like that, really helps to keep you accountable and reminds you to do the things that you set out to do. So we're going to watch one last video here.
The fact that you're thinking about ways to change your brain health and promote your own health is a step in the right direction.
The small changes are so important. They don't have to be radical, life-altering changes.
Our own brain health is not only for ourselves, but it's really for our loved ones.
The things we do day to day, the things we can make decisions about that can be positive or negative for a healthy brain. And I think that's the kind of things we want to focus on, is what are the things we can do that we can control to begin to have an impact on our brain.
The fact that you're thinking about ways to
So you've really taken a great step towards prioritizing your brain by joining us at this program today. And we want to share, just a few thoughts as we close up. So just remember that brain health is important across our entire lifespan. So now's the time to take charge and take action for your brain health, no matter what your age is. Small changes add up to big changes and feel more doable as we move along. So when they feel more doable, they are more doable. So remember that the tips for success that work best for you are included in this information. So finally, use your action plan to decide how to begin and hold yourself accountable. Continue to add more brain healthy habits into your routine. And maybe ask yourself, what can I do now to improve my brain health? What you do will help you feel better now and help protect your thinking and memory as you get older. And we always like to mention our resources that we have available to you. The Alzheimer's Association provides a wide variety of information and support. We do always talk about our 24-hour helpline at 800-272-3900. It's available, again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in 200 languages. And it's operated by master clinicians who will answer the phone and answer all of your questions that you have. They can link you to different resources. And we have different resources that are specific to those who have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or people that are caring for them. So make sure you reach out to our website also at alz.org for any type of information. We do also have education programs like this one on our website too, if you know of anyone who would like to learn more about Alzheimer's, taking care of your brain, all different types of information.